You're listening to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by. On the morning shift.
Anything
could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh. Glad to be here with you. Got off to a little bit of a late start this morning, so I apologize for that. It's always an interesting technical adventure getting ready for the show, and today was no different. And so I had to reboot and restart and reconfigure one of the apparatuses, one of the laptops that we use. And so, yeah, there's so many things. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different elements that make the show happen in terms of software or hardware, and it's definitely an issue. Anyways, thankful that we're at least here. We got a lot to talk about today, a little bit of a follow-up on our show yesterday, and also talking about news that's happening today. And then, I don't know. Well, deep dive, I don't know, the UN's meeting, talking about the climate situation. And so that's huge news worldwide. It has worldwide implications. And so we'll be talking more about that as, shows go on. But lots to talk about locally. There's weather, there's sports, there's local news headlines. And then today is the 1 million march going on at 9 a.m. And so we'll talk a little bit about that as a follow-up to yesterday. So many comments. I don't even know what to say from yesterday's show to follow up on. Interesting how everybody has a different perspective, right? So maybe we'll talk a little bit about that. We have a few people joining in with us. We're live on CKLU 96.7 FM, CKLU.ca, streaming online audio. Also, you can click on the Radio Player Canada app on the website, CKLU.ca. You can take us with you and listen to us anytime, anywhere on your favorite device with the Radio Player Canada app. We're also coming at you live at youtube.com/Sudbury News, facebook.com/Sudbury News. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, follow, mainly comment though, because this is your conversation about your community in your country, and the conversation that we have could also impact those, the same issues we're talking about, impact those around the world as well. So welcome to you also joining us from areas around the world, not only Sudbury or the Sudbury area, Ontario, Canada, North America, but the world. And I know a lot of you check in to not only CKLU, but this show to kind of get a sense of what's happening in Sudbury. So welcome. Make sure to comment. We'll have a great show today, and we'll be back with some salutations and diving right in right after the weather, right after this. And Sudbury weather brought to you by sudburyweather.ca. Currently it's 5 degrees Celsius. It's clear. There is a frost advisory. There was one the previous night, and there was one now as well. So hopefully if you have a garden, it wasn't impacted so much the previous night, and you've taken precautions for the frost that we're receiving now. Anyways, so 5 degrees clear. Today we can expect mainly sunny. Fog patches dissipating in the morning, high of 19, UV index 5 or moderate. Tonight clear, fog patches developing after midnight, low of 7. Thursday, mainly cloudy, fog patches dissipating in the morning, high of 22, UV index 4 or moderate. And look at your longer range again tomorrow. Going to be mainly cloudy all of a sudden. Yesterday it was talking about sunny for today, Thursday, and Friday, but now it's mainly cloudy. Isn't that interesting how the weather just totally changes like that, even just a couple days out from a forecast, right? High of 22 though, mainly cloudy. Then, and this is according to Environment Canada, by the way. This isn't anything other than that. So this isn't me making this stuff up, just so everybody knows. Sunday, Sunday. Sunny on Friday, 23 degrees. And then Saturday, 40% chance of showers, high of 22. Mix of sun and cloud on Sunday, high of 21. Monday, 30% chance of showers, high of 19. And Tuesday, it is cloudy with 18 degrees. Look at your satellite over the area of Ontario, and it's mainly clear. So if it's going to be cloudy, it's going to have to develop rather quickly. There's a few clouds, but it is what it is. Mainly cloudy over mainly sunny over all of Ontario, mainly clear. And that is your weather, brought to you by SudburyWeather.ca. We'll be back with some sports and some news headlines and a follow-up on yesterday's conversation about today's 1 million march for kids or for children, about the teaching of sex ed, I guess you can say, just in general in our classrooms, and I guess the adoption of the whole pride movement, including a flag, a parade, and much, much more into our schools. What does that mean for our children? Should we have that much fanfare for a cause? There's lots of causes in the world, right? Why is that particular cause so important in education more than others? We're not sure. We'll just kind of maybe unpack that as a follow-up from yesterday. And there's some people that take exception to the importance that's placed on just that one cause and maybe what goes along with it. Possibly there's some concerns. And so maybe we'll follow up with some of that. And so we'll be back right after this. So I got to admit, we've been a little light on the sports, obviously, through the summer because hockey is one of the main things here in town, and follow the Sudbury Wolves and the Sudbury Cubs mainly, and also the five that will begin their season in the new league, actually, coming up after, but we'll be talking about that. But okay, so we'll be probably talking a little bit more about sports now that the Wolves will be back in action. So press release from their head office, preseason action continues tonight at Sudbury Community Arena as they take on the Sioux Greyhounds. The puck drop is at 7:05. That's the usual time. Both teams met earlier in the preseason, and the Wolves came out on top, 6-3 victory there. The Pack currently hold a record of 1-0-0-1. Wolves forwards Quentin Musty and David Goyette both recorded 3-point games before heading to their respective NHL camps. And so following Wednesday's games, the Wolves will conclude their preseason Saturday, September the 23rd at 7:30 in the Sadlon Arena in Barrie. They face their Central Division rivals, the Barrie Colts. The Wolves welcome the Brantford Bulldogs to the Sudbury Community Arena on Friday. September the 29th will be the official home opener for the Wolves. Puck drop is at the usual 7:05. Single game tickets are on sale now for Wednesday's game, along with the season opener regular season games at greatersudbury.ca/tickets or the Sudbury Arena box office. Open Monday to Friday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Get your tickets early. For more information, visit SudburyWolves.com. That's your Sudbury Sports, brought to you by SudburySports.com. We'll be back with news headlines, much more, and your comments right after this. All right, and we're welcome all of you back. Glad to be back and glad to have a show today, even though it got off to a bit of a late start. And I apologize for that. We have a few people joining on. Just wanted to acknowledge. And we have Monique, good morning. Sudbury with a nice smiley, sunny emoji. Judy, good morning to you. Shane, good morning. Hope you're having a great Wednesday. Hope to see you live and in person on the show tomorrow. Let me know if that's not possible. But other than that, look forward to having you on, chatting about all the latest, greatest. Mona, good morning to you. And Jess, can you announce Minnow Lake CAN or Ward 11 public meeting is tonight at 7 p.m. at the Minnow Lake Place, 1127 Bancroft Drive. So yes, I just did. The CAN Ward 11 public meeting is tonight at 7 p.m. at the Minnow Lake Place, 1127 Bancroft Drive. So if you are interested in that, make sure to head out and be part of your community and get involved. Good morning, Vin. Thanks for being with us. Brian, good morning, Sudbury campers. As usual, hope you're having a great morning, Brian. Marianne, good morning, everyone. Thanks for being with us. Michael, glad to witness your show. Good morning. It's an interesting good morning salutation, but I'm glad to witness that you're here witnessing the show. So glad to have you here. Good morning. Claire, good morning, exclamation point, all caps. That must be an ecstatic good morning. So glad to hear. Helps to have good energy in the morning. Good morning, Sudbury. That's Isaiah joining us on YouTube. And Jess, also Community Action Network. Thank you. Perfect. That's the Community Action Network. CAN, as the acronym would say. So thanks for joining us, y'all. And thanks for commenting. Continue to do so. I'll do my best to read them for those on the radio or listening on audio at cklu.ca or on the Radio Player Canada app. But for those watching, I'll do my best to get them up on the screen, even when we start heading a little bit more into details of what we're talking about, and I don't always have a chance to read them, I'll make sure to get them up on the screen. That way, everybody can have their comments made public, at least. Now, there's been a couple of comments that I've been trying to do a little bit, because a lot of times I'll just share them as they're coming out, and sometimes they're about the last story or the story coming up. And I've been trying to do the moderator, as I'm the technician, the producer, the on-air personality, the writer, the host, and the moderator all at the same time. And so I've been trying to moderate the comments as well, and sometimes it's hard. So when I see a comment that I'm thinking is going to come up for a story, sometimes I'll hold off and I want to share it as we're talking about it. But then if there's 15 more comments came in afterwards, going back and doing that has been troublesome. So if you feel sometimes your comment has not been, shared, that's the only reason. And I know there's only been a couple times I've done that in the last week. And so I might stop trying to do that just because I was trying anyways. So let's talk about some local headlines here, and we'll get into our follow-up from yesterday right after this. Let's see here. So we're at Sudbury.news. I just clicked on news at the top of the page right there. And you just go down Sudbury. And so all of the Sudbury news gets aggregated from Sudbury.com, CTV Northern Ontario, CBC, and Sudbury Star all into one location. And I may add some other ones there that are maybe a little more regional, North Shore kind of thing in the future. But as for now, that's the news outlets that aggregate their stories there. Sudbury judge sends father to pen for dealing in cocaine. Sudbury police arrested a Barrie man in 2022 at downtown hotel. That goes along with, there was a story of a gun left in a cab. I think it was in Barrie, and some money, but it was a Sudbury man. And he got out of the cab and left a gun and money in the cab. And now they're basically looking for him. I don't know if that's going to be in the headlines today, but I read that yesterday. Yeah, that was from Sudbury.com's stories yesterday. So anyways, that's pretty crazy stuff, leaving a gun and a wad of money in a cab. Sudbury man gets 17 years for arson that killed 3 people. And the judge says we must be able to feel safe in our residences, especially at night. For sure. I think we should feel safe in our residences all the time. any time of the day. Okay. A little bit of what we might be following up on today here from Sudbury Star. Anti-woke protesters likely to encounter another strong pushback. The March for Children demonstration to gather Wednesday outside City Hall. So maybe we'll come back to that. I'm not sure. But yeah, talking about the anti-woke demonstrators as opposed to just demonstrating for children's rights, I guess you can say. They could say children's rights advocates instead of anti-woke protesters. I guess it's all in the headline, right? It's all how you want to have the narrative go. And news has been doing this ever since news began. It's interesting wording that's used and spin and all this stuff. You can kind of see the slant of the storyteller, which would be the journalist. And it's really hard to just get facts and unbiased facts of the situation or what's really going on. Chelmsford robber to be sentenced almost 4 years after the crime. A sentencing date of October 24th was set for Kevin Armstrong. That story also from Sudbury.com if you want to read all about it. Police recover magic mushrooms, pot, and illegal cigarettes during a raid here in Sudbury. That's also Sudbury Star. There's a road report for the city of Sudbury. Traffic. You want to read that if you're concerned about getting around in the city and what that's all about. You can read all about that at Sudbury Star, sudburystar.com. Sudbury School Board joins Truth and Reconciliation Rally. Oh, it says relay. So maybe that's what it is. I don't know. Also sudburystar.com. A lot of Sudbury Star articles here. So there's also another charge for an impaired driver from Sudbury. 2 injured when pickup went into the ditch north of Webwood. It looks like that's all we're getting from our Sudbury feed for some reason. The aggregator is a work in progress, but there's a lot more stories going on around Sudbury, obviously. Just checking in here through, there's a lot of CTV Northern Ontario. Sudbury Car Club helps the less fortunate. Sudbury Car Club drivers delivers a check to help charitable causes in the city. That's CTV Northern Ontario. Medical students can learn in French now. Now that's huge. Yes, as we are more of a bilingual town, bilingual area, there is a push for more education in French. Need for plasma donors in Sudbury. You can see that at CTV Northern Ontario as well. And here's okay. We've already kind of went through these stories. Underground Film Festival starts September 23rd. Beth Myers talks about Greater Sudbury's Underground Film Festival taking place this Saturday at the Sudbury Indie Cinema. That's also CTV. And CTV Northern Ontario. So let's just dive in here. So anti-woke protesters gathering today. It's 9 a.m. A little follow-up from talking yesterday on our show about the 1 million March for Children. And the fact that it's controversial because they're protesting about, sex education in our schools and teaching explicit sex education at a very, very young age. And a lot of people are having an issue with this. And there's also a movement that's really kind of, taken hold in our schools and in our government. And that's the Pride movement, right? The LGBTQ plus movement. And it's really kind of, as a movement, you have to applaud it for standing up for an individual cause, one cause, that being sexuality of preference, is what it all boils down to. to just prefer to have relationships with the same sex or change your sex to any sex you want at any time and call yourself anything you want at any given time. That's really the movement. But that's really taken hold. The schools have really adopted it to the point where now the flag of the movement flies outside of all of our educational institutions and even governments, as if it's almost like, like there's the Canadian flag and then there's the pride flag. That's pretty huge. Like if you had a movement and you got to get your movement to that place, to that extent, it's not only a flag, it's teaching the curriculum of this movement also intertwined into our education. That's huge. Like, to whoever is behind the movement, you have to applaud that. Like, how do you get something like that done? Like, let's say you wanted to save the turtles, and that was your movement, and that's what you lived your life and lived, breathed, and because a lot of turtles get killed on the roads. And you had a flag developed, and you had, teaching kids about how to handle turtles on the roads, and you can have turtles in your house and everything turtles, and you had a turtle flag, and it got put up. Like, you'd have to applaud whoever was behind that movement. Like, they were able to get things done and have governments make official days and give speeches and make laws and change laws for the turtles. You'd have to say that was pretty darn freaking incredible. So whoever is behind the movement itself have to really, first of all, know what they're doing and have a lot of supporters in key places to implement that cause. Right? So now let's look at the cause a little bit more. What is the cause? Because they did a great job doing it. You have to tip your hat to it. It's amazing where it's gone. What's behind it? What is it? What's being taught? Why is it so important to everybody? You're doing great. Okay, thank you. We understand the issues. Timing. Thanks, Vin. Yes, definitely multitasking. By using generalized labels, they systematically categorize individual outlooks into generalized prejudice. Many can't see past this. Some do. Okay, that's a little bit. And Colette, thanks for, I've seen you commenting or liking other people's comments, but very rarely commenting on the show. So thank you. See you at the counter protest. Hashtag no space for hate. Okay. I have a question for you, Colette. Do you love the protesters? Because there's no space for hate, right? And I agree with you on that one. So do you love the protesters that you're going there to counter protest against? Question for you. I'll wait for your response. Steven says, example, anti-woke could be labeled pro-traditional values, for sure. Yet it's not. Why not? Yet our traditional values have made things difficult for many people. Sure. Though they are generally minorities. That is true. They are generally minorities, for sure. You do have a good point there. So I guess that's Pride and Canada all the way for Michael. He's got 6 or 7 Pride flags, 6 or 7 Canadian flag emojis. Thanks for that. Shane says, maybe we'll discuss this on the show tomorrow. And I'll repeat the same thing. But my biggest problem is not what capital letters the state is teaching our children, but that capital letters the state is teaching them. For sure. It's not what the state is teaching our children, but that the state is teaching them. So we shouldn't have the state teaching in the first place, right? Kind of thing. It's time this is Colette. It's time that all Canadians reclaim our flag. It's not a movement. It's called progress. I hope you were watching yesterday's show on progressiveness, and it sometimes looks like regressiveness to other people, but yes, progress and a necessity to get rid of the stigma and have people feel safe and be able to live in peace, for sure. I think that's what we all want. We don't want stigma. We want everyone to live in peace, and we don't want doctrines shoved down our throat from either camp of anybody, right? So lay off the indoctrination and let's all just get along. I think that's what the protesters are saying today. And the anti-protesters are saying, no, we want to indoctrinate your kids. And so that's not peaceful, forcing anyone to learn things. You can't force somebody to be good, first of all. You can't force somebody to change a behavior. You can only teach aside, and there's nothing wrong with saying you should tolerate all people. What's wrong with that? Like, how long does that take in a classroom? Tolerate all people. Everyone is the same. But unfortunately, one group of people is being put over another, and they got a flag and a parade. They're being put over the other people. And if you say anything against it, you are bullied. So Colette, you're going to go out today and you're going to bully protesters is what you're going to do, probably. Right? You're the bully now. See how time has shifted? So I admit, back in the day, like Stephen was saying, the traditional values and whatever, and people being ignorant of minorities and people that do things differently, were bullied. And that is true. And that was wrong. And it still is wrong. And no one should be bullied for anything. And religion has been taken out of the schools for that particular reason, because it was like, why are you teaching our children religion if they don't necessarily, they're not being taught that in their homes. They're not religious. So yeah, let's keep that in the churches and in the homes. Let's just teach children math, arithmetic, English, French, whatever. And let's leave the ideologies to the parents and to families. But that's changed now. There's a new ideology put in there in the schools, and they're being taught morality on a different level from a different secular point of view. Now, there's never a Catholic flag or a religious flag flying outside of the schools before, but there is now an ideological flag that comes along with ideologies and moral values, and it stands for things. And I know y'all know what I'm talking about. If I said, what does the pride flag mean to you? You would tell me. There's values associated with that. There's morals, there's ethics, there's ideologies associated with that flag. It's like any flag. That's what's the reason for a flag. It's supposed to encapsulate a movement or a people, right? Or no? And so what does it mean? And what if that flag doesn't represent you? You're bullied now. If you say, you know what, just not for me. I just don't, I like just being my heterosexual single sex self. I don't know. I just like being a male or a female. You're now bullied. And you're taught that that's hate. Good morning, Denise. Thanks for being with us. Right? So Sudbury Star article here. Here we go again. That's the way they begin the article. Here we go again. Okay, as in June, people opposed to way children are taught. I think they're supposed to say to the way children are taught. See, even paid journalists make mistakes. I've been called out many times for making mistakes, and I know that I do. Okay, people opposed to way children are taught about sex and gender in schools are gearing up for a demonstration, and just like the last time, plenty of others are poised to push back. The last protest was held outside Rainbow School District Board office. The 40 or so picketers were outnumbered by a large group, and I'm thinking in Sudbury it's probably going to be the same today, who came out in defense of LGBTQ community and all but drowned out the attempts to speak. Okay, so is that very peaceful? Is that very harmonious to drown out other people from speaking? Is that a respectful way of showing peace and love to someone else? What I find is the movement oftentimes is very hypocritical. They say they want peace, they want love, But then they're the bullies. They're the ones, speaking over someone, not letting them speak. That's not very respectful or peaceful. But that's what you're going to do today. You're going to go out and you're going to try to combat in an unpeaceful way somebody just trying to have their voices heard. And how many times have you had a parade or said your peace of mind? Now you are the power. You're the one with the flag outside the school. You're the power now. You're in power. Remember the idea of truth speaking to power? You're in power now. Now how are you going to handle it? Are you going to demonstrate your peace and love for everyone, including those that might not necessarily agree? Just like before, when traditional values, as Stephen pointed out, were the norm, and the minority said, yeah, but I'm gay, and then was bullied for that? Are you now going to come back and say, I'm straight, and the one guy in the class is straight? Are you going to show us a different form of humanity and say, you know what, it's okay. It's really okay if you're straight. And that's fine. Yeah, it's okay. Anyone's fine to be yourself. It's fine to disagree with me. So are you going to show that type of, are you going to be that way? Or are you going to be the bully now? Are you going to be just as bad as the people that you were protesting about way back when the movement was in its infancy? You're in power now. What example are you showing to people? And when you say peace and love and unity, and that's what we want, your actions speak so loudly, we can't hear a word you're saying. So who's in charge of the movement anyways? Who's your leader? Where's the leader? Who's behind the flag? Usually we have a Canadian flag. We know Justin Trudeau currently was elected into a minority government that's in a coalition with the NDP now. We know that's who we can go to, who's behind the flag. A flag means power. It means something. It has a statement behind it. What is that? Right? So what does it stand for? And I would just like a flag that just say we all get along. If you want to be gay, you're gay. You want to be straight, you're straight. Teach about the positiveness of being heterosexual and being, maybe a traditional moral person, and then say, hey, but there's also a progressive side you could be if you want, and you can do anything you want. And so there's two. One doesn't have to combat another. If we truly want the balance that we're talking about here, let's just look at who outnumbers who and who bullies who today. And then let's look at how the press acts. And for one, why would the press be on one side or another if the press is unbiased? Why would the press say, oh, good on you, anti-protesters. Good job. You outnumbered them. All those hateful people out there saying, I just want my children to be taught math and English and science. I don't want them to be indoctrinated into a sexual orientation ideology. I want them to make up their own minds, just like what you were saying. I want them to make up their own minds. I don't want them to be taught to be something they're not. That's what I'm saying. Get it out of the schools. Get it out of the children's libraries. You don't see drag shows for seniors. I don't know why. They need entertainment at the old age homes more than kids do. Kids get lots of entertainment, big budgets and stuff, and they get all kinds of traveling shows come into schools and things. They don't need drag shows. Seniors do, right? But what's up with the kids thing? Like, why are they so important to the movement? And it is a movement, a leaderless movement. So you can't really hold anybody accountable, which is like a very ambiguous thing. But it's got a flag, it's got a parade, it's got laws now, and it's getting more and more. If you say anything against it, you're hateful. And if you're saying what I'm saying is hateful right now, you don't understand what hate is. I'm calling everyone to be loving and to love your neighbor as yourself. Do unto others as you would have done to you. And I would hope if someone was getting a little out of hand, if I was getting a little out of hand in my thinking and doing things, I would hope someone would at least say, hey, maybe you're going a little bit overboard here. Maybe a flag and a parade and, that's going a little bit much. You know what I mean? Remember, we're all kids. That influences kids. Are you trying to influence kids to be gay? Or are you just trying to say it's okay? There's two different things, right? So, a couple videos for everybody just to show a little bit of the movement here, what's going on, just so you know. There is a movement and there are people behind it. And these people, you can just say, oh, they don't represent us, but you don't have a leader to hold accountable. So you just have people out there doing things, and some people are fed up with the movement itself. It's a little bit overboard. It's now in power. You have all the people in power supporting it and forcing other people to go along with it. It is a movement. It's like any movement. A feminist movement, which I don't know how the feminist movement feel about this movement because it totally puts them out of it. Now you have men competing against women in sports. That totally kiboshes any victories that the feminist movement ever had for women's rights. Like you can't even, you're competing against men. Biological men born now that's claimed to be a woman are competing against you in sports and beating the living daylights out of you because, right? Men and women are equal. There's no difference biologically, right? You can be whatever you want. Anyways, so it's a movement. We don't have a feminist flag flying outside our parliament and schools. Like it's a movement. There's things behind it that need to be talked about. But why has it done so well and it's so there? Interesting. There's a little bit of a pushback. It's like, okay, already, we got the point. we want to be loving and inclusive and talk about inclusive. You talk about being so inclusive, but only for people that think like you. If I don't agree with you, I'm not included. So it's not all inclusive. It's very hypocritical to say things like that because someone who disagrees with you in anything, I'm excluded. So it's not all inclusive. It should say partially inclusive movement. You're partially included, right? Here you go. Here's an example.
We have a message for you. You think we're sinful? You fight against our rights. You say we all lead lives you can't respect. But you're just frightened. You think that we'll corrupt your kids if our agenda goes unchecked. Funny, just this once, you're correct. We'll convert your children. Happens bit by bit, quietly and subtly, and you will barely notice it. You can keep him from disco, warn about San Francisco, make him wear pleated pants, we don't care. Just like you worried, they'll change their group of friends. You won't approve of where they go at night to protests. Oh, and you'll be disgusted when they start finding things online that you've kept far from their sight. We'll convert your children, yes we will.
Reaching one and all, there's really no escaping it.
'Cause even grandma likes RuPaul.
And the world's getting kinder.
Gen Z's gayer than Grindr. Learn to love, learn to vogue, face your fate. We'll convert your children. Someone's gotta teach them not to hate. We're coming for them.
We're coming for your children.
We're coming for
We're
them.
coming for them.
We're coming for your children.
We're coming for them.
Your children will care about fairness and justice for others. Your children will work to convert all their sisters and
I'm Pastor Henry Hildebrandt. Want to talk to you briefly about something that happened recently in an elementary school in Windsor, Ontario.
And we'll have more on that right now. And so, satirical or not, the protesters who were after that song were not satirical. They were protesting. That's what they were saying. Unless that was satirical too, and that's making fun of what's going on. We shared a little bit yesterday of what's being taught in schools, and that's coming from the UN. And one of their sustainable goals in sexualization of children. And it is a movement. It is a movement. What does the movement mean? Can anybody surmise why it's so important to teach it to small children, to have drag shows for little kids in libraries? Why is that so important to have a drag show for a child? And why is it in the news so much when there's so much going on in our world that is, I don't know, to me, way more important than entertaining children at a library? What the crap? Why is that so important? You don't see them at the old age homes. They need the entertainment. Like, it would be interesting if they just wanted to get out there, and make more sense. They just want to entertain everybody. It's fine, all ages. But again, thinking critically of what's going on, seeing what's happening. To me, my daughter just came through the school system. She told me the things that I listened to it because of the pandemic. I went in her room and I heard the teacher, what they were saying. It was all about everything racial. She was a very bad person. She was told she's a very bad person because of her race and her beliefs. She was definitely should feel bad for herself and the family that she's come from. She had no choice in being born into, but she's part of the problem of our society. I heard that being taught to her by her teachers. Sexuality. I saw assignments. I'm going to have her on the show, by the way. I'm going to have her on the show to explain it to you, because I think a lot of you haven't been in school for a while, and you maybe not have kids in school. You don't really realize what's being taught to them. So let's just listen in on this, what this pastor was talking about, what happened. So children from the Muslim faith didn't go to Pride Day at their school because it was all activities to do with Pride. It's almost like, you remember at the end of the school year, you'd have a fun day or something like that, and you already graduated, and they're just going to have activities and color and do things like that. And so if you missed it, it wouldn't be the end of the world. So on the Pride Day, these Muslim students didn't go because, the religion doesn't support the idea of same-sex relationships. It just doesn't, right? They look at it as being unnatural, that there's a male and a female, just like in nature, there's male and female in flowers and plants. And when we build something, there's a male and female, like a nut and a bolt. There's a reason for both. And if you try making a structure with just bolts or just nuts, and saying it's okay, like if you were to build me a car and say I only used nuts, I didn't use any bolts, would I feel safe to get in that car? Or I just used bolts and no nuts? You know what I mean? Because I feel that that's the way it should be, and don't make fun of me because of that. I just wouldn't get in the car. I just wouldn't do it. And if you force me to get in, say, you're not getting in my car, I made it for you, and I made it with only nuts or only bolts, and I didn't use them with both. To me, that's not the right way to me to make a car. And I'm not judging you. I think you want to get in that car and you want to make that car and you want to drive a car with only nuts or only bolts. You can drive it, and that's fine. And I'll let you do that. And there's no judgment here, but don't force me to drive that car, because I should still have a choice of what I want to believe, as long as I'm not infringing on you, right? But it's turned now. The paradigm shift, it's a huge one. The pendulum has shifted to the point where now, listen to this school teacher. So we'll get a little listen into, these children didn't come to school. So this is what the school teacher said to them, right? So this is what's going on in our schools for all those who maybe haven't been to school for a while. And they're speaking, listen to the Muslim children replying to the teacher. Now the audio, I admit is not the greatest. So, and in light of being accused of editing the video, I'm going to play most of it. So if you want to go to the protest or the counter protest, I know it's starting at 9, you'll have to get going. But at the same time, have a listen. I won't edit it. We'll just let it be. You won't be able to hear some things because I don't want to be accused of editing something. So we'll just hear it, and there's going to be some boring parts in it because that's what some listeners request. They don't want edited things. So, I could have edited it so that all just the main parts came out that I'm going to show, but I'm just going to let you listen to yourself. Here's a teacher.
Take a couple minutes to express to you some of my feelings about yesterday. How many of you came to school yesterday? And take that home to your parents because they're the ones who made you stay home. It was an incredible show of hatred. It was hatred, and it was incredibly disgusting to have witnessed. I do not want to be a part of this school. I am so disgusted of what happened yesterday. And I'm sorry to those who were here. I just have to say how disappointed and disgusted I am. And let me tell you, the whole staff here feel the exact same way. What would you think if I said, it's not that I hate Muslims, I just don't support them?
But that's our, a religion.
I was raised to be racist. My father was a horrible racist. The things he would say about black people was unforgivable. But I changed him. When a Muslim family moved in next to my father, let me tell you, he had some things to say about Muslim people, and let me tell you, I corrected him. Nobody in this school is asking you to be gay. We are asking you to be respectful. And yesterday did not show respect and kindness. And I am disgusted. What?
So, like how you said, you don't support that.
I didn't say that.
Like how you said that, that's right now.
I did not say that.
Example.
The example I said to Rakana.
So, if we don't support Islam, and we don't support like the thing that you mean, and like you should actually respect us, like how we respect you. But like we respected like other religions and other things.
But not people.
Yesterday we weren't trying to disrespect you.
Okay, but I'm going to tell you this. You might believe that.
But Miss, like,
Okay?
You can't compare religion to sexuality.
But you can.
When that religion has been alive for over 1,400 years old.
So have gay people been around for that long?
No.
Oh, yes, they have. Trust me. They've been around since mankind was invented or created or born or whatever you believe in.
And just how you can't compare God, humans.
But you just be kind. Why can't we just be kind? But it is. It is. It's totally disrespectful. But it was.
I don't support, but I'm still trying to. I'm not trying to be rude and you know how you said I respect stuff. There's also people that don't respect it. I don't want that body, and I just ignore it. And
That's when you as students, as kids, need to start teaching your parents. Like I had to teach my parents. And it wasn't easy. I wasn't allowed to have black friends. I did. At school I did. They were never allowed to come over. But at school I was friends. And slowly but surely, my
Yeah, so there's the children basically talking with the teacher about, it's our religion. Like, we're not disrespecting anybody. And that's true. Just because you don't want to go along with someone, and as Stephen was saying, there's been transsexuals and lions are gay too and things. And yeah, you're right. Like, there is very exceptions to the rule all over the place, but you don't make the exceptions to the rule the norm. You don't force everyone to be the exception to the rule. And, and if you say anything against it and you make all the, if I listen to CBC radio, there's a good chance that 1/3 of what they're talking about is stuff to do with this. 1/3 of it. Why? Why isn't it proportional to what the degree of importance that it is? Why is it the most important thing that there is in society is to teach kids how to masturbate or to have a sexual partner at a young age? And you mentioned that the AP, the Associated Press in the United States, said the document I was reading yesterday wasn't, in fact, truthful. And that's your first mistake, Stephen. You're saying another outlet of news is saying it, and you didn't go to the source. So shame on you for that, and go read it. Then come back. Tell me what you didn't find when you read the actual documents. Okay? So don't listen to news. Don't listen to me. I'm not here for you to listen to me, and I'm the absolute authority on things. I'm here to hopefully inspire people to think for themselves, look into things, not take what they're given, spoon-fed, and trust everything they hear. How many times has news been wrong throughout history? How many times have governments been wrong? How many times has science been wrong? Right? So why do you go to it as if it's like the all-knowing authority on everything? Go to the source. Think for yourself. Be yourself. And whatever you feel about the movement, I just think it's not going to end here. It's going to continue. We know which side is winning because they got the flag. But at the same time, does it need to be that way? Can we get along? We'll decide with the flag, say, okay, and take the high road and say, yeah, I think we've gone a little bit too far. And schools should just be a place to teach school things. And it's not a church. It's not the church of the world. It's teaching you skills and math, science, English, whatever, and we need to. It's our tax dollars going to it, for crying out loud. Whose tax dollars are paying for our education? They should have a say. Enough said. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll be back same time, same place tomorrow, God willing. Love you, each and every one of you, including anyone on any side of any debate or any movement. I truly do love you as a person, and you should be allowed to practice what you believe, but not force me to do it. And I won't force you to act in a way of what I believe. I might express it, and we'll see what you think about it. And if you like it, you can live that way. If you don't, you can choose not to. And that's the way that it should be. So have a safe and glorious, wonderful Wednesday, everyone. We'll be back same time, same place tomorrow. Stay tuned now for Earshot Daily on CKLU 96.7 FM. Ciao, everyone.
This is Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.